I have been asked many, many, many times how I select the timber that I use in guitar building. This video is going to be a little bit of that, a little bit of how I dry timber and how timber should be dried, whether I'm doing it myself or not. I'm on a little bit of a road trip around a few larger and smaller suppliers today, looking at wood. Burn it. Haha, yay! In general, you get what you pay for. Most timber... Okay. It's like watches. You buy the seller first. So go to somebody who you trust to have nice, properly dried wood to start with, especially if you are a smaller builder. Now, I'm going to have to stop that train of thought because the first and most important rule is you buy wood that makes you smile. And I'm not sure how much of this you can see. That wood makes me smile. That price tag makes me smile even more. Holy, that's pretty. So that's coming home with me. This is highly figured Wellingtonia, apparently, and it's heartwood and sapwood. The heartwood is the harder timber, the sapwood is softer, and it's obviously highly flamed and utterly gorgeous, and I want to make myself something out of it. So we're looking for that, but you can tell how dry it is as well. And here's another piece with more heartwood in it. So yeah, you buy the supplier, you buy a company that you absolutely trust, and you really can't go wrong. Properly dried timber is relatively expensive because it takes a long time and a lot of effort to get the timber dry. Now, I am a huge fan of Wagner moisture meters. This is the Orion 950. I need to turn it on. This is the Rolls-Royce, the Aston Martin of moisture meters, and I absolutely love it. Now, as well as not being the penetrative type, 9.3%, I'm guessing the relative, sort of the density of this wood. There we go, I'm just gonna rest that there. This lens is very heavy. This uses a wave that goes through the wood and measures it absolutely accurately. You've got many other features as well. It tells you the relative humidity of where you are. And there we go, relative humidity. 70.9% at the moment. The doors are open. I'm actually standing in a giant kiln. The equilibrium moisture content, this is what the wood... So very basically, here we go, bit of science. Your wood wants to take on or lose moisture, and it will do that until it reaches equilibrium. Now, in this room, the equilibrium moisture content, according to Wagner, is 12.6%. So if you're just air drying timber, in this particular room, at this particular temperature, the timber will stop taking on or losing moisture at 12.6%, or thereabouts, and that's about average for pretty much everywhere in the UK. This is also for every single reading I can click record, and it'll send that reading to my phone and save it, which is very, very useful when you are testing the same piece of wood over a long period of time, for example, etc. But let's have a look at this room. So we've got big doors, lots of insulation, etc., and massive fans. So when you're drying timber, you want to have dehumidifiers pulling the moisture out and lots of airflow around and through the wood. And we'll show you some more pictures of that in progress a little bit later. But I'm going to stop talking to you and find some timber because, yeah, exciting times. You are coming with me. So we've pulled out this large lump of brown oak. We are going to take it, but it does have a few things that you need to look out for. Obviously here we've got a sort of rotted, soft whole section where basically the tree had a crack in it, it got wet, and and rotted out. We can use a lot of wood around that area though, and the same a bit lower down. When you've got cracks in the wood or shakes that you can actually see, you need to be sure that you know where that goes. These ones, it's going straight through, and I've got usable wood on either side. Sometimes they'll go at angles, and you need to worry about that. But there's enough pretty usable timber here for a number of guitars, and potentially even a guitar neck down there. So yeah, I'm happy. Now here's something else. We've got some rippled ash with some very, very, very interesting figuring and holes and bits and pieces going on. So we're going to take a couple of pieces of this, and again, some damage in places. Look at this crack here. Again, it goes straight through. Here's an example. Now what I'll do, if I was considering buying this particular piece, if you run your hand, if you can hear on the microphone the change in sound, right here, the wood is not solid. And that tells me the crack is going through at that angle. So yeah, you can even do that to find hidden shakes in timber. And if you think there might be something wrong, you can listen to the wood and find what's going wrong. And that is one of the important things. But imagine a guitar top made out of that. Oh, hell yeah. So this here is a gorgeous piece of flamed sycamore. Essentially, it's pseudo sycamore maple, so it's a type of maple. The problem is maple stains very, very easily. So unless you dry it, standing up actually, then you'll often get this sort of bluey, greeny stain coming through. And for us it makes no difference. We'll stain it red or black or whatever. But it's an issue for traditional woodworkers who want pure white sycamore. So that is something to watch out for, I suppose. And again, when you're buying wood like this, you will have cracks and checks and shakes and all sorts of stuff. Still, usable wood there. Can't wait. There's a bunch more of this Wellingtonia stuff. I love it. That figure, check. Now here is some Douglas fir, which I'm not going to buy, but it's a good example of quarter sawn. And basically, as a general rule, when wood dries, it loses about 2 to 4% that way, but 7 to 12% that way. So it's a significant amount of its volume gets lost while it's drying. And that's actually a pretty cool piece of wood. I'm sure I could make something out of it. Of course, along its length, it's almost nominal. You might, in drying from full wet to 7-8%, you might lose 1% of the length of the timber through shrinkage. But yeah, it's mainly those dimensions that you need to think about. So this is torrified rippled sycamore. How do you tell if a tree is rippled from the outside? I hear you ask. You look at the outside and you can clearly see what we're talking about here. So all of that is converted into all of that. So this piece is not going to be the easiest chunk of wood to get stuff out of. Oh, there we go. You can see it even better there. But I'm going to give it a damn good go. That is stunning. Utility. Who knew? And then you come to places like this. Oh, hell yes. So So this is the main warehouse at Tyler Hardwoods, and well, I'm tempted by a few pallet loads of walnut at the moment. I found a tree I want. Boys, I want this tree. You're gonna have to get it out for me. And we've come into the private stash room. Rippled ash.
Big ripple ash.
Yeah, we
Big. That is
You can see it on the side.
huge. All right, so I'm picking up a little bit of wood. This is mainly for our production guitars, a little bit of stuff for the kit guitars, but also to fill our student room for the guys that come and learn how to build guitars with us here at Crimson. But here's a quick look at a few of those bits and pieces. And yeah, there's some flame sycamore, some rippled ash with all these beautiful pippy holes, etc. We're going to have most of this delivered, but this isn't even all of it. If you come on through, I found this log, and this is, well, it's beautifully dried. There are multiple kilns here, and it is highly rippled. This is going to be production guitars, Scions, and I mean, just look at that. That's fiddle grade rippling, and it's throughout. I just couldn't be happier. So here on the sycamore, you can see on the edge of the tree the evidence that it's rippled. Sometimes that is a lie. Sometimes on other trees, if you see that, it's where they've actually debarked it and the tool has ripped it off, and that's a little bit misleading. But that's not even all of it. There's another bunch here. Again, more rippled sycamore. Yeah, I'm a little bit poorer than I was this morning, but incredibly happy. Well, check out tylerhardwoods.com, link in the description below. Well, this is it. There, it's huge. They've got some of the prettiest stuff up on their web store as well, and they're on Instagram. So yeah, links below. Well, that was fun. After Tyler Hardwoods, go check them out, tylerhardwoods.com. After we visited them, we ended up going to a couple of smaller sawyers who do, basically they sell us wet stuff and then we chuck it in our timber store or have a friend kiln dry them for us if that's the way to do it. But the rain came down and the camera did not come out. If you are a small builder in your shed at home and you don't have huge amounts of storage space, then you want to buy wood that is already dry or almost as dry as you can. And yeah, the Wagner moisture meter, wagnermeters.com. This beastie is a lifesaver. If you aren't 100% certain of the supplier, you need to test the material. And even if you are, you need to test the material before you use it. In a guitar, for example, many years ago now, I built a neck out of wood that I thought I trusted. And in those days, I had the moisture meter with the 2 pins in it. And what those do is you stick the pins as deep as you can into the wood, and it passes an electrical current between the 2 anodes, I suppose, and it measures that current, and with that it then works out roughly how much moisture is in the wood. It only measures it at that point. It's not in the middle of the board, etc. Unlike the Wagner one, which just goes, you can set this to measure 1/4 inch thick material, or it goes right through very thick material. It's fantastic. I wasn't very good back then, and I built this guitar multi-laminate through neck, so once the neck's on, that's it. And one of the multi-laminate pieces just wasn't dry enough, nowhere near. And I always built 2 necks out of every billet, because you might as well. And I had this billet here, and I gave the customer the guitar, and a year later, it was like a banana. And I had to rebuild the entire guitar. But it was all because I did not check and make sure that the wood that I had bought was actually dry enough for building a guitar. Saying that you have a moisture meter, that's cool. You then need to store your timber somewhere that is dry enough for you need to store your timber properly. In my home workshop, I don't actually have a timber store yet. And I only built this at the beginning of COVID. I need to build a timber store on the back, and I'm going to insulate the hell out of it. I'm going to have a dehumidifier going whenever it's required, and also fans and airflow going. Now, I'm not going to keep very much wood here. I have large, lovely timber stores at Crimson where most of my stuff will be kept. But I do want to have a selection here that I can choose and go through, even if it's just my wood turning wood, which I don't seem to have very much time to do anyway. You would have seen at the timber yard, a lot of the boards were all, you make a pile of boards with stickers in between, so about 25 millimeters or so, 20 millimeters, and that allows airflow to go through around the entire board. That's why you want either natural wind and a big open place with a roof. You don't want rain on your wood when you're drying it. Or fans if you're inside of a kiln, etc. Rule of thumb, which isn't always accurate, is if you're drying wood, 1 inch a year is around about right for air drying, at least. Kiln drying is a different story. If this has been of interest to you, please let me know. If you want to see something going into much more depth on the drying process, if you want to see the workshop, the timber room at Crimson Guitars, for example, if you want me to talk about kilns and kiln drying and all of that, let me know, and I will do my best. I am no expert. I just use the stuff. But yeah, it is very, very interesting to me, as it should be to you. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe. Go and check out wagnermeters.com, tylerhardwoods.com, crimsonguitars.com, and yeah, all of that good enough. Good enough. All that good enough. I've lost this outro, and I'm just going to go with it and say goodbye. Goodbye.